All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Change Your Life Anyway. I'm Andrea Stenberg.
I'm Yvonne McCoy. Apparently, I need a vacation from my vacation.
Yeah, I think I could be like that after a few days off and a house full of family.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going to talk about the beginner's guide to Twitter.
So, social media is one of my strong suits. And I need all the help that I can get. You know that, right? Did I just lose you? I did. For those of you who have never come to a blab with us before, Andrea obviously is the expert on social media, and I am the most awful at it. And so part of our journey is try to bring me into 2016.
Okay, first of all, I got to say you're not awful at it. You're learning.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that graciousness on your part. Okay, so I would say let's pretend I don't know anything, but I don't have to pretend that. So, but I also want to make sure that everybody knows that they are more than welcome to join us in this discussion. So we've got Samantha, we've got Tweeting Goddess, we've got I just saw Dazzle Me Elegant. So we've got a couple of people on the line, and there's an open seat for anybody who wants to join, whether you want to add some great information or whether you want to get some information to help you to use Twitter.
And so, if you're shy and don't want to be on camera or your office is a mess, feel free to type a question into the question box. We'll do it that way too. So let's dive into Twitter.
Okay, so if we start at the very beginning about signing up, what do you need to know about signing up and having, I guess, a handle or whatever, or profile or presence?
Okay, well, I mean, first thing, your username becomes your Twitter handle. So when I signed up for Twitter, I used my name, Andrea Stenberg. So my Twitter handle is @AndreaStenberg. So you want to think about, if you're going to be using Twitter for business, you need to decide, are you going to go by your name? Are you going to go by your business name? Are you going to do some descriptive words about what it is you do? I tend to, for solopreneurs and service professionals, I like the idea of using your name because, even if you have a business, often you are your business, you are your brand. So having your name creates a little more sense of intimacy than if you have a company name, just because then the company name can kind of end up making you sort of feel one step removed from your audience. But it should be something short because there's not a lot of space on Twitter. So if you have a really long username, if somebody replies to you, that gives a lot less space for them to contact you. If you look up, as anybody on this knows, when you're on Blab, you use your Twitter ID to log into your Blab, and you can see, so under my name is @Andrea Stenberg. If I were going back and doing it again today, I would actually capitalize the A and the S just to make it more readable. I could actually go and do it now and change it. I just can't be bothered, but that's what I would do if I were doing it all over again.
So are you saying that, I know Twitter has a certain number of spaces that your name, if you're tweeting or somebody's tweeting to you, that your name actually takes up some of those spaces?
Yeah. So for example, if I wanted to tweet directly to you, Yvonne, I would put @YMCoach, which is your Twitter username, in my tweet. And that @YMCoach uses up some of those characters. Now, if I'm just tweeting something that's going out to the world, obviously I'm not going to put everybody's names in. But if I was tweeting something to you that I wanted to get your attention, maybe, I wanted to thank you for something, or I'm sharing something that you said, or I'm saying something about you and I want you to know about it, I would have your username in there, and that, takes up part of the characters that you have.
Okay, I didn't know that. So, is there anything else that we should know in terms about signing up or profile? Is there?
Well, one of the things that you have when you create your profile on Twitter is you have a link that you can put somewhere in your profile to point them wherever you want them to go. So whether it's your website, whether it's another social media, whether it's, I've seen some people will have a special page on their website. Hi, Samantha.
Hi. It's always my favorite subject. Sorry. I just want to join in. Go ahead.
So we're glad you joined. And also,
Thank
Wicked
you.
Juice just joined. Oh.
There'll be a few more.
Yeah.
I just tweeted it out. This is
Okay.
because people need tips on Twitter, because a lot of people join Twitter just to join Blab. So go for it. Carry on. I was enjoying that. Go on. You're right.
Yeah, so it's really worthwhile thinking about what your link is going to be in your profile. I haven't done this yet. It sort of keeps getting bumped down on my to-do list. But one of the things I've thought about doing is having the link go to a specific page on my website that's just to welcome Twitter users who have found me from Twitter. So, but it doesn't matter where you send it to, but that's just something to think about. And of course, you can always change it. I also am a really big fan of anywhere on social media having having your face.
Yes.
Like as your Twitter rather than a logo. If you're not a big corporate entity, one of our advantages is that we're people. So let people see who you are. I like to look people in the eye and see who they are.
You're right. Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, people buy from people. I totally agree
Andrea?
with you. Unless you're a big corporate, I think people buy from people, and big smiley face. It works wonders, and get a nice shot done if you can. Like a nice. Doesn't have to be a LinkedIn professional type shot either, because Twitter's a bit more relaxed, isn't it?
Yeah, although I tend to use my same picture across all my social networks. So if somebody knows me on Twitter and they run across me somewhere else, they go, hey, I know that face.
Yeah.
So, and yet, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a really nice headshot. I went online and found a student who was a photography major and hired him to come do my photos. I got, to help a student out, give him some money and give him a bit of work, and got some really nice photos at it. When I first started my business way back 100 years ago, I actually went to Sears and, the little photo booths that they have and just got it done there. So anyway, yeah, but definitely worth having a face. I went and cut my hair.
Yeah.
All of her
typical.
pictures have her with long hair, and then she went and cut her hair.
Yeah, one of my to-dos for 2016 is to get a new photo so that it matches.
The other thing is, with the iPhones and stuff, you can take a lot of photos and end up with a good one, even if it's by accident. So you're getting. And use the selfie stick. That's true. That was the other comment.
I think once it's smiley is the most important thing, because you ever see pictures and they're like really grumpy looking. You're like, what? Why would I follow you? You look dangerous. It's like, no thanks. But yeah, I agree. I agree about the face anyway. Yeah.
So once you actually get signed up and you have your profile online, how do you know who you're following and who are your followers, or how do you target, or do you target?
Absolutely. We've got Dawn going to join us.
She loves Twitter.
Hi,
Dawn. So if you're using Twitter for business, I think there's a few things you want to look into. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, thanks
for joining
so much.
us. So one of the things is I use Twitter a lot for keeping up to date in the industry. So I follow a lot of other social media people just to find out what's going on. I follow some tech people, like whenever there's any new technology tools, that's something that I usually hear about first from my Twitter feed. Dawn, Samantha, how do you decide who to follow on Twitter?
Well, when I started out, I hadn't a clue, to be honest, and I just started following people I admired, in business, leaders and stuff like that. Is my Wi-Fi okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I just started following that way. And then I started targeting mums, because the product I had at the time was a product that mums would buy. And I just found these hashtag chats and stuff, and women's inspire hashtag and women in biz hashtag, and kind of went from there, and it grew from there. It depends who your target market is, but like I was looking, I was helping a client today, and there's a woman in biz hashtag and a women in biz hashtag that are very active. So check them out if you want to, anything like that, women in biz or female entrepreneurs, anything, if that's who your target market is. But I mostly started chatting to people that I did like their bios. And see, Twitter will suggest people to you anyway once you start following certain types. So Yvonne, if you started like following certain, like even if you followed me and Dawn today, right? If you followed myself and Dawn, if you click on top of our Blab names there and then follow us on Twitter, it says follow on Twitter. Even if you follow both of us, Twitter will actually suggest people that we engage with because you've already followed me and Dawn. So, and the same, if I follow you or if I follow Andrea, probably some of Andrea's network will be suggested to me by Twitter. So that's how you kind of grow. And they follow you back normally, and that's when you get the followers. Well, normal people would.
And one of the things, just so that we answer the questions as we're going along, somebody said, is Twitter really increasing the character
Hope not.
count?
I hope not either. I don't think so. I know you have a large character count in your direct messages, like the private texting that you can do to someone who follows you back, but I hope they don't change that in the regular. But nice to meet you, Yvonne and Andrea and Samantha. You guys, am I pointing the right way? Like yeah, you will learn a lot from this one. So she's a good one.
I know, but Andrea, we learn a lot from Andrea. And it's Andrea's Blab, you see. And I'm sorry, Andrea, I just dropped in to say hello.
No, that's okay. We're always happy to have extra people on. One of the things that I do, not as much now because I'm following a lot more people and people are following me, but early on is if I found somebody interesting, I would go to their profile and see who they follow and see who's following them and start following some of those. That's a great way to find people. One of the things that's interesting, I live in Midwestern Ontario, and we're kind of a rural area. And locally, Twitter's just starting to catch on. We're a little behind the times here. So one of the things that I've done is I keep trying, whenever I find somebody local on Twitter, is I follow them and I add them to my local list. And that's another key with Twitter, particularly if you haven't been on it for a while. It's a good idea to start putting people into lists now, because if you wait till you've got 2,000 people and then you have to go back, you're going to curse yourself.
Yeah,
that's great suggestion.
Right, so
one of the other tips I've heard as well is that you can use a great point that Andrea just mentioned is that you can also use twists and lists in a private way. So you can make them public lists or private lists. And I think Stephen Caggiano is someone that you want to follow on Twitter because he's a genius on it. And he uses private lists quite extensively to kind of help you keep track of your own followers, and then you can interact with them. But my hack was exactly what Andrea said, is I will find someone whose content I really admire, or a thought leader within my industry, or a thought leader to my target market, someone that they are after. And then I will go in and see who they're following, not so much who's following them, but who do they consider, not worthy, but, who are they learning from?
Well, actually, I would go into their profile and then I'd see who are they engaging with, who are they talking to, because that's who I want to. That's who I want to talk to. The people they're talking to, I want them to talk to me. So that's who I would be looking at as well. Yeah, I'm not staying, girls. I just wanted to help you kickstart great Blab. I love Twitter. Is always a favorite topic of mine, obviously. But I have to go. Mommy calls, mommy duties. As you can see, I have my coat on, so I better go and do some other work. Okay, lovely to meet you, girls. I'll see you on Twitter. Bye. See you, Dawn.
See you on Twitter. Thanks for joining us.
Bye. That was fun.
Okay.
Earlier on in the conversation, right? You mentioned hashtags. So explain hashtags to me, please.
Well, hashtags it's a keyword, a phrase that you would have the hashtag, or for those of us who are older, the number sign in front of. And you can use those a number of ways. You can use them to do a search on Twitter to see who else is talking about that particular phrase. So oftentimes if you're at a conference, the conference may have a hashtag, and so you can sort of quickly see who else is using that hashtag and discussing it. We're to Twubs. All right. Well, then you should be telling us a little bit more about the
you're
hashtag.
You're doing a great job of it, and you're explaining it in plain English, which is what a lot of people forget. So.
Well, you know, one of the things I always see, like for instance, like on TV programs or something, and they'll say, "Send me something at hashtag," you know, whatever the topic is. So I don't know how that works. I mean,
it's a great
if
question.
I were to
Well, as I said, you can do a search for a hashtag. There are also different tools like Tweet Chat and things where you can actually enter the hashtag in, and then it will live as people post with that particular topic, see what other people are doing. So that's kind of an interesting way to engage with other people. Sort of my little not so secret vice is I'm a huge Blue Jays fan. It's a Toronto Blue Jays baseball. And so oftentimes during a Blue Jays game, I'll follow like the Blue Jays hashtag and chat with other Blue Jays fans just because, you know, it's always more fun in a group. And yeah, people do that with TV shows. Just last fall in Canada here, we had the federal election, and there was a couple of hashtags around the election, both during the campaign and then on election night, people tweeting. And so you have lots of different ways that people can use hashtags, but it's a nice way to be able to interact with other people who are talking about what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I view them as a magnet. They basically help bring people together that don't know each other around a specific topic, around a specific, like I love how you said that, Andrea, is the keyword. If you know the keywords that are significant to your audience or to your business, and you can go do some of that investigation in like Google AdWords without buying anything, you just do the investigation and find out what the keywords are. Anything free. I'm a big believer in free. So all these. Yeah, free. I'm just, I don't know, it's cheap.
That's our philosophy too.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So it's a way to connect with people that are in the industry. I'll give you an example. I used Sprout Social. I searched under the hashtag event profs because my business, the tweet to screen business, that's my target market, is people that are doing events. I searched event prof, hashtag event prof, and anyone. But yes, I do have an expensive headset. Yes, I do. Anyway, I searched under that and I found a list of people that tweet out with that topic. And so I was able to invite someone that I saw on that. I follow them. I create my own internal list that they are an event prof for my own use. And then I personally reached out and said, hey, come to my blab, come to my chat that I'm hosting about events. So that was an outreach. It was discovery and outreach using a hashtag.
And sometimes you'll see, like in your news feed, you'll see somebody referring to a hashtag, and you may not know what that hashtag is about. And so sometimes what I'll just do is click on the hashtag, and Twitter will bring up then a list of other people who are talking about that hashtag. And oftentimes just from seeing what people are saying, then you can kind of figure out what it means.
Okay, so, one of my big things is that, when I think of Twitter or Facebook or, almost anything that's social media, I think this is one more to do on my list. How much time should you spend on Twitter for it to be effective? I mean, it seems to me if you're like me and you tweet every once a month, it's not going to do very much for you. And so there needs to be much more, you need to be invested in it more than that. So, usually 30 minutes a day.
It could be 10 minutes. It could be 5. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, do you find that, Andrea, that it could be a time suck if you let it?
Yeah, one of the things is to figure out what are your goals with your.
Andrea,
yeah, not hearing you.
I don't know, but you're breaking up.
How's this? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Now we hear you.
So some of it just depends what your goals are with the social media. Are you trying to get people to visit your website? Are you trying to promote a blab? Are you trying to just get a following? Do you have an event coming up? So some of that may change. And, for me, as you know, I'm on like practically every social network there is. And so I find like it ebbs and flows. I might be focusing more on Twitter and LinkedIn for a while. Then I may, kind of let one of them go and focus more on Facebook. So it sort of depends what you're doing. I have a hard time deciding like how much time I'm actually spending, because I may, find an interesting article, and I use the Hootsuite the Buffer app on my web browser to share it to Twitter. So that, may take 5 seconds. Sometimes I'll use.
So that's
no, that's right? I come across an article. It's really interesting. And I think, you know what, my followers are going to find this useful. It's just sharing the link, and then, maybe the headline, or I'll add a piece of information about what it is. That will help, so that takes a couple of seconds. I have, my trusty cell phone. I have Twitter on there. And so, I might be, waiting for at a doctor's appointment, and I'll check my Twitter. I have it set so that I get notified if somebody tweets me or sends me a direct message or an @ reply. So I check it. So I don't know exactly how much time I'm spending all day, but it's not. The nice thing about it is Twitter is kind of a real-time social platform. Like, people don't tend to go back and look and see what you did a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's like right now. So if I am, it's Christmas Day and I don't want to go on Twitter, I just turn off my phone and I'm done. So that's one of the nice things about it. But certainly more is better, because it's a real time. If you tweet at 10 o'clock this morning and I don't go on until 7 o'clock tonight, I'm probably not going to see what you had to say. So it's worth experimenting to see when your followers are on and most active. And certainly the more you do, the more chances are that your people are going to see what you have to say.
Okay, for someone who is entering into the Twitterverse, and let's say I am a solopreneur, what kinds of good things can I get accomplished through Twitter? I mean, what should I think about using it for?
Well, we've already talked about keeping up to date with your industry. Certainly, any of your clients, you should be following them on Twitter. See what they're doing, what they're up to. Competitors, you could be great for competitive research. Anybody who writes blogs on topics that are either of interest to you and helping you run your business, or that are going to be of interest to your clients. Those are people that you might follow. Anytime I meet somebody at a conference or on a blab or somewhere, I follow them and try to keep up with them. Dawn, any other ways that you're using Twitter that?
You're hitting the big ones. That's definitely true. I think for someone, one of the things that I see small businesses use is also promoting anytime someone says something good about them. So for instance, if you get some good press, if you get someone that wrote a blog post, if you get a newspaper article, or you're interviewed somewhere, you can send that link out. That's another way to basically, the principle is, don't brag about yourself, let others do it. And so as you're building your Twitter followers, you're going to be building that base of fans, that base of people that are grateful to you because you're giving them consistent content, or you're teaching them something, or you're connecting them with something that they didn't know about. So that's definitely, I use Twitter for lead generation. I gave you that example where I'm searching a specific hashtag to find people to follow. And then I do what's called social listening. I see if there's someone that I would like to connect with. I see what they tweet about, what they're interested in, those types of things. And so in my travels online in the Twitterverse, if I find an article, it's, hey, that might be of interest to that person, I'll just send them a link unsolicited, and not slimy, and not, hey, check out my Facebook profile or something like that, but just provide consistent value. And then that's what helps build your platform.
Twitter, I find, is a great tool for what I call cyber stalking. And not in the creepy sexual predator way, but in the business research way. Is, say there's a particular person that you want to do business with, whether you want to joint venture with them or whether you want to be their client. one of the first places you should go is Twitter and check out what they're doing and start retweeting them and sharing their content. And then then you can migrate over to Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever else they are, and just start engaging with them so they start recognizing your name and face. And I'm surprised at how few people do that. And I'm also, even though I've been doing it for so long, I'm still surprised at how effective it is. I always tell the story. I was at a conference a while ago, and one of the speakers, we were connected on Twitter. We'd had a very brief at-reply conversation on Twitter. It wasn't anything profound and in-depth, but at the conference, I went up after he spoke to introduce myself and tell him that how much I enjoyed the talk. And he saw my name tag and said, "Oh, Andrea, nice to finally meet you." And I've had that happen a lot, where people know me from Twitter and they feel like they know me, even though we haven't really had, in-depth conversations.
Just to make sure we're addressing questions that people are bringing. Someone said, because of the time differences and stuff, should you, tweet out the same thing more than once during the day? Because there's a difference, depending on where you are, it could be 5 or 6 hours difference, either if you're going to Europe or you're going to Hawaii or wherever. So is that another way to, I guess, increase your presence on Twitter?
It's certainly something I do. I don't retweet everything multiple times, but if there's something that I think is really important or really interesting, I try not to do it all the same day. So if I did it at 9 a.m. today, I might do it at noon tomorrow and 7 p.m. next Monday, or something like that, just to get people in different time zones. But yeah, because it's so instantaneous and because there's people all over the world, if you tweet things multiple times, you're more likely to hit more people. Dawn, what do you think about tweeting things over and over?
Yeah, I would say couple tools, and it depends on what your business is. So if you're looking globally, a lot of the clients that TWUBS has are in Australia and in Europe. So we have to pick time zones. On my iPhone, I actually have the different time clocks for all the different, wait, what time is it there? And so I use Sprout Social. As long as you're using some application that you can schedule out your tweets, you Buffer, Perfect, Sprout, whatever you want to use, so that if there is information that I want to send out to make sure that I hit my Aussie friends and make sure I hit across the pond, I do that. So it will be the same, and I definitely do what Andrea mentions, where you try different times. One of the nice things about Sprout Social is they have an aspect called their queue, the queue. You can basically, like the line, stand in line, and you can send tweets to your queue, and it knows the best times where your tribe is online. So it just happens that mine are at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1 p.m. So I can schedule tweets for, my time zone on queue, or if there are specific things, I'll go in and schedule those myself. Or Crowdfire. Yeah, there's all kinds of places.
Something I've just recently started doing, I've kind of resisted too much automation because I really like sort of the live and personal, but I started scheduling automated tweets from some blogs that I follow that I know consistently write good content that my followers are going to find useful. And just started, it's not hundreds and hundreds, it's maybe like 5 tweets, 6 tweets a day that are going out automatically. But I'm finding that's really helping my presence, because even when I'm busy and doing, work, paid work, working for my clients, doing my own other business related stuff, there are tweets going out. And so I kind of kicking myself that I didn't get into it sooner and start doing that. And it's not all my stuff. These are blogs other people have that just, I know they always have good content. And so I don't have to feel like I have to pre-approve them or, screen them to make sure they're appropriate. I know it's great content. So that's something new that I've been doing the last few months, and I've been noticing it's had a real impact on my followers.
Will you save topical tweets then retweet? Oh, that's a great that's a great idea. And I haven't done that, but that might be something worth doing for the future, keeping a little bank of seasonal
seasonal messages that you could send out.
So I'll drop you in a link here. I cannot take credit for it. Command C. I love Blab, how you can just drop links in. Isn't that nice? So here we go. This is a hack I learned from Madeline Sklar. She's, I don't know if you guys follow Twitter Smarter. She's amazing. I'll just put her, Madeline Sklar. She actually does a Twitter Smarter podcast and a Blab show every Tuesday at 3:00 Pacific time. I don't know what that is for you guys, but she talks about Tweet Jukebox, which addresses that exact issue of what if you have evergreen content. And the jukebox basically is, it's like a jukebox. It'll just like interject into your Twitter stream solid things that are timeless that you set up.
Now, one of the things that I struggle with a little bit is the personal versus the business, because I really just have one. And so and Twitter, I tend to have a lot more personal things on it than I do on any of my other social networks, just because of the nature of, I could be out wherever and tweet something. And then, as I said, I also have my Blue Jays during baseball season. How do you handle that, Dawn? Do you keep your business? Do you have separate Twitter handles, or do you do it all under kind of one?
Well, I do have separate Twitter handles because we've got our twubs.com, which is our corporate account, and that is our business side of it. And so I've been a part of the Twubs team for about a year, and have helped grow that presence there by just engaging with folks, and a lot of the things that you're mentioning, Andrea. So it doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or a company, the principles are the same. Send out consistent content, interact with people, thank people that follow you, don't be slimy, interject some of your personality, those kinds of things. So, but my personal account it's a little bit different. I've been on and engaging, I'm doing some of my own things as well. So, I want to keep that separate. I actually keep a lot of my personal stuff more on the Facebook side. So I use my, that doesn't mean I won't put my personality in it, but I will definitely, I will tend to keep my Twitter feed kind of down to specific topics.
Okay.
I'll put a goofy thing in there once in a while. Like, my kids are hilarious. So I just
well, one of the things.
I was just going to say, before we finish, I just want to, first of all, I really want to thank you, Dawn, because I've got all these links to go look at, so I can educate myself some more. So I hope everybody else that's on the call has written some of these down so they can investigate some things as well.
Thank you. I actually need to run as well. Andrea, I am so glad I met you. This is, you're laying down some very, I love hearing it. I think people forget that these questions, a lot of people are looking for answers for this, and you've been doing it.
Well, thank you, Dawn, and thanks for joining us. It's always great to have an extra voice on the Blab.
I love it. So now I know who to send my blabbies over to for Twitter lessons. So, okay. Well, we nice to meet you, Yvonne.
Take a look at all the topics. We changed a little bit on a lot of different things. So,
awesome. Yeah, so thanks, ladies.
Bye. Thanks.
Okay. So we got a question here. Has anyone tweeted to everyone following someone? So I don't necessarily. So I'm assuming that you mean somebody who's tweeted. You're tweeting to somebody else's followers, and I don't necessarily tweet to all of them. But what I will do is I will follow people that I think either they're a fit because they are a potential client, or because they're interesting. And then if somebody tweets to me, I always try to get back to them reasonably quickly with a reply. But I don't necessarily tweet like individually to everybody. That I think I just don't have the time or the energy to do that.
Well, I'm kind of looking at my cheat sheet. And I have to say, because we had such great guests, that I don't have too much left on here that I was supposed to ask about. But one of the things that I did have a question about is it said you should craft your own voice. So I think you covered that a little bit. Like, how do you approach it from if you're doing it strictly as business, and how do you approach it if you're doing it personal, and if you should have two different accounts, right? So, any thoughts about that?
Well, one of the things, all of my social media, even though I do some personal stuff, I've always approached it with the idea that it's for business first. And I heard an interview, it was a number of years ago. Alan Alda was interviewed by George Stroumboulopoulos, who's a Canadian TV personality. And Alan Alda had written a book about, it was a personal book about kind of a mental illness in his family when he was growing up. And the interviewer said to him, wow, this is a really personal story. And Alan Alda said, well, yeah, it had to be personal. Otherwise, it would be like a textbook. It would be boring. Nobody would want to read it. He said, however, there are parts of the story I didn't tell because they were private. They weren't my story to tell. And I always remembered what he said and use that with my social media. And I, remember, I can be personal, but there are certain things that are private. And that's something that I think everybody has to have a conversation with themselves and say, what is personal that I will share, that I don't mind making public, and what is private that I'm going to keep to myself? The example I have is I've seen some really high-level marketers who have millions of followers who tweet pictures of their kids. They have, talk about their birthdays in their email newsletters and have, their names and all that information out there. With my son, I mean, I talk about my son a lot online because I'm a mother and he's important to me, but I don't post pictures of him. I don't say his name, and I only hint at his age. And partially it's because he told me I'd have to pay him a royalty fee if I used his name or his image. But the real reason is, in this day and age, I don't feel comfortable kind of putting him out there until he's old enough to make that decision himself. So that's my line of personal versus private. So I'll tell interesting stories about him as long as they're things that won't embarrass him too much. But I keep those other parts private. So that's, I think, part of the personality is showing some of your, that you're a human being. But try to do it in such a way that, if a client were to meet you in person after having seen you on Twitter, they're not going to be surprised about who you are. I think that's sort of the main thing.
And we had a comment, I think, from before when we said, if you sent something to the follower of somebody that you're following, does that make sense? The one person said, I do that to get back to someone if they troll me, and then I block them.
Yeah, I mean, trolls are out there. That's something that is a reality, whether it's online or in the real world. Thankfully, I haven't had too many issues with that myself. I know some people who've had some horrible issues. It's just, it's something you have to be careful about. And that's sort of another reason why you want to always be monitoring when your name is being mentioned online, to make sure that nobody's saying anything that you don't want out there, and deal with it appropriately.
Andrea, because we've got like 5 minutes left, one of the things that you do really well, I think, is help to set up schedules and how to fit your Twitter and your social media in. So I'm putting together my business plan for this year and what I'm going to be doing. And obviously one of my goals is to get better at social media. Okay. And so can you give me some ideas or the questions that I should ask myself as I, that I've been struggling with my LinkedIn. So that's probably my primary thing. But after LinkedIn, I think maybe Twitter should be the place that I go to, get more of a presence. So what would be some good starter steps for me?
All right. So starter steps would be to, come up with a list of topics that you want to share information about. So, and maybe find some blogs or that are publishing content on a regular basis so that you have other people's content to share. So you don't have to write it all yourself. You can share those out on a regular basis. That's one thing. Another thing would be to, spend a little bit of time lurking, which is just sort of looking on Twitter, seeing what other people are posting, just to get a feel for what you like and what you don't like about how people interact on Twitter, because there's lots of different personalities. When you find somebody who's doing something that you think is really good, is follow them. And then the other thing would be start retweeting interesting people. And that's where you're just replicating what they've done, and it's got their username in the tweet, and it's just going out to your followers. And it sort of lets your followers know, hey, this person's interesting. They've said this interesting thing. And it lets that other person know that you found it interesting enough to share. And that's kind of part of what Twitter is about, is this kind of sharing other people's ideas and words and content while acknowledging where it came from.
Okay, so the other thing is it says create different lists for different purposes.
Yeah, so we talked about that earlier on the call. So I might have, I have a list of all local people on Twitter. I have lists of people with different, in different industries. Some of them are, maybe, some of them are other marketing experts that I'm following just to keep up to date on the latest and greatest in the marketing field. Some of them are people in different sort of client types. And the client types, I tend to keep those lists private. So they're not public, because I don't necessarily want people to know that I'm thinking they might be a potential client, and I don't want competitors to be able to swoop in on that. So group people into lists, and then you can once you get larger following, like I'm following more than 2,000 people right now, so it's kind of hard to keep up with everybody. But when I have a list, I can say, okay, I'm going to just pay attention right now to, say, the local people and see what's going on and interact with them. Or maybe I'm going to take some time and focus on my clients and past clients and what they're doing. So lists can be really useful that way.
Okay. So any other good things? For me, thanks to you, when I do my post on my website, it goes out to Twitter and LinkedIn and stuff like that. So that's fabulous for me. I like that automation.
So the other thing that you might want to consider is using some kind of a scheduling tool that lets you schedule some of your posts. And you automate your blog post, and so it goes out whenever you publish it. But then maybe you can schedule that same blog post to go out on Twitter at a few different times over the next couple of weeks, so that you catch other people who weren't on Twitter when you published. That would be another good thing to try.
Okay. All right. So there's a comment. You can probably reply to that, Andrea, because I don't even...
So the list functionality is, it's not the easiest to manage your lists. It is, and there really isn't any way to do it quickly. That's why, I always say, when you're just starting out, is the best time to start adding people to lists, because if you have to do it when you've got 2,000 people that you're following, you're going to just drive you crazy. The other thing, it's when I'm managing my list, like maybe I need to rejig things, is I take my laptop and put on a movie on Netflix, and just so that I don't mind the fact that it's taken this much time, that I can do something I enjoy. Because there really isn't a fast way, and they don't alphabetize the list. The list, it's not the great, probably if any of us were designing Twitter right now, we would make some changes along the way. But having a list is better than not having a list.
Okay, so we're about ready to wind it up, right?
Yes.
So this has been a really active and content-filled lab. I've learned a lot. I've basically learned that I'm not doing nearly enough. But I think that this is a good week to do this, because it's the beginning of the year, and I think all of us are looking at, what we want to get accomplished for this year. I'm going to send out a thing that you can check out my I'm Ecstatic Life model at YvonneMcCoy.com, and it has goals that you can set for your life and ways that you can decide to get there. So you can include Twitter in as one of your routes to get to the goal that you want. Andrea, do you have anything to say about the new year, and do we know what we're doing next week?
No, we haven't planned out our blab schedule we should probably get on that in the next couple of days. So if you want a mystery blab next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, Yvonne and I will be back on. If you have any ideas for topics of what you'd like to see us talk about in the future, you can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/changeyourlifeanyway. And we'll try to come up with some interesting topics for the rest of January and February and into the rest of the new year.
No, I'm just saying that, I think 2016 is going to be fabulous. It feels good. It's, a lot of the hard work that we did in 2015 is going to come to fruition, I think, in 2016. So we're excited. And I think the other thing is that together, I think we cover a vast amount of quantities from Andrea's expertise on social media and my coaching on change and how to get, different work on different management kinds of skills. It's going to be fun this year. And I really, speaking is something I like, although I was very quiet today because I don't know anything about Twitter. But I think, we're going to have topics that you're going to want to join in for.
All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us again today. And we hope we'll see you on a blab soon. Again, I'm Andrea Stenberg, social media marketing at thebabyboomerentrepreneur.com.
And I'm Yvonne McCoy of Adept Coach and Consulting, and I'm at YvonneMcCoy.com. All right, everybody, Happy New Year. Have a great week.